Hi everyone! Thank you for joining me today. It's Miss Glazner here for APPetizer Wednesdays. Hi guys! Hi Darlene! How are you doing? Hi! So this is APPetizer Wednesdays. Today I want to talk about something that I get asked really often when I talk about using iPads in class. And the number one question I get is, how do I have time to have the iPads in my class and to, still cover all the material that I want to cover? And I could go on a whole spiel about why I use iPads, but I don't want to focus on that today. Today, I primarily want to talk about, how do I have the time to play with stuff like iPads in my class? And the answer to that is going to be something my publisher offers. My book is from McGraw-Hill, and they have a Connect program. Hi, Darlene. And it's going to be the Connect program that helps me free up a little bit of my time. So I want to show you guys online while I talk about it. So this is my course webpage. I'm trying to see if I can get it into focus a little bit. There we go. And so my students, instead of having a traditional hard copy book, I offer them the Connect package. Of course, they could still buy a hard copy book if they would like. But with the Connect package, they are going to have, and we can see it over here on the right-hand side, an eTextbook, which is probably like a traditional version of an e-book that you would expect. Is kind of PDF format, really flat and static. But they also get something called Learnsmart with it. And this is going to be an adaptive reading program. And it helps the students read more efficiently on their own time. It helps them quiz themselves on their own time, but it's going to be this Learnsmart program through the Connect suite here that helps me save a little bit of time and helps give me more time to utilize iPads in class. So what is Learnsmart? I actually have it already open here at the top, and the book's already open as well. As you can see over here, it's going to look kind of like a textbook, and it is, but it's going to be an adaptive version of that textbook. So we have all of the chapters. In this demo course, I've only assigned chapter 1. It shows how much of the chapter I've actually assigned for that. And what's going to happen here is I have these little up to 5-point assignments that I expect my students to do prior to coming to class. And by doing these prior to coming to class, they get to cover some of the basic chemistry terminology. So that way, in my lecture, I have time to do a deeper dive with them and to really focus on their problem-solving skills instead of having to write all the definitions on the board. That's what this is going to replace. This program is going to give me a way to have them have some of that background knowledge prior to coming to see me. So you can see in chapter 1, in this particular assignment, I've only assigned 10% of the chapter. Usually after 2 or 3 class periods, I've assigned up to 60% of the chapter. Once they've completed it, it'll turn green. So I always recommend my students to try to use Learnsmart on their own to get through 100% of their chapter, even if I haven't assigned it. So on my course, they'll have a list of definitions I kind of expect them to be able to read through. So you're probably thinking, well, this is just an e-textbook. How is this going to help me save time, and how is it more efficient for the students? Well, when I select what sections of the chapter I feel is important or what I'm going to cover that day. And then I assign it, and the book, this whole program, goes through the chapter and highlights the important topics for that chapter. And you'll notice that some of it is kind of a darker color Can y'all see that that's yellow, which is highlighted? Black means that this is a sentence that some students find necessary in order to understand the topic, but then some of it is completely grayed out. And when it's gray in color, that's something they can completely skip over. So my students go through and they'll take notes. For example, here's the definition of density. And when you read along, let's see what a few more of the pages look like. You can see on this page a lot of the information is grayed out. The next portion that's highlighted is recommending that they try this in-chapter problem in order to achieve the goals that I've preset for this reading assignment. There's a lot of definitions in this chapter, so again you can see here is highlighted text, and again some of the black text, some from their studies they have done, that's where some students might want to continue reading that portion in order to fully grasp the topic. But you can see down here at the bottom some of it is grayed out, so they can completely skip that. So my students are reading along, taking notes, and again, it's more efficient for the students because they don't need to feel overwhelmed with reading an entire chemistry chapter. That can be very intimidating for my students. They can skip over a few things. Most of my assignments are geared to take about 20 minutes of their time. Again, here's a highlighted area with some definitions, and then some grayed out areas. So now my students are saving money by using this program. They're saving time by reading through the things that are pre-highlighted and writing notes on our course. But then also, after they read for a few minutes, this practice button down here at the bottom will start to blink at them. And it's really this practice feature that has changed the face of my course in a lot of ways. So with the practice feature, I assign anywhere from 15 to 25 questions that my students need to work through in order to receive some points for this section. And when I say points, it's only worth 2 to 3 points, and you would think that's not very many. But it's enough points to motivate my students to get in here, dive into the material. But after that first or second class period, they also learn that if they don't do these and really start to get a grasp on that basic material, then in class they're going to feel lost, because in class we're doing that deeper dive. So the questions come in all different formats. This one's a check all that can apply. If they read the question and feel totally stumped, I love this feature. This is not meant to penalize them. I want them to learn something prior to class. They can just click read about this, and it'll take them straight to the section of the book that's been highlighted that involves that question. So then they come back to the question and they're going to select their answers. So I'm just going to select a few. I haven't read it. So as a teacher, this is going to be due 30 minutes before my class. And again, this is going to help not only them have a background knowledge of the material, so I can do a deeper dive in class and have time to do things like iPad activities, but also I can now personalize the class a little bit based off of the topics that my students get correct or incorrect most frequently through these reading assignments. So I've selected a few answers here. And then the last thing, besides the adaptive reading and the feedback I get from students getting certain things right or wrong, there's a chance for me to learn about them a little bit metacognitively. Before they can submit their answer, they have to select how confident they are. And so this is so interesting in the sciences for me. If a student selects, I know it every single time, but they're getting them all wrong, that's an overconfidence, and that's something that we need to work on. But if they're getting them all right and they always select, I don't know, again, they're having a lack of confidence, which can be equally bad. So you can see that I got one wrong. So my number count, which was 18, it didn't go up because I got the question wrong. Again, because this is supposed to be a learning moment for the students, they can push OK and another question will come up. It keeps cycling through until they get it. But it's more beneficial for them, again, to read about it, to try to learn it, and then to attempt a secondary question. So I push OK, Again, this one's a little bit different format. The questions on here come in all different formats. You can check them, select them, match them, or type in the answer. And so with this, what's the study of matter, which is commonly defined as anything that has mass and occupies space. Perfect. So this is going to be the answer. Then I'm going to select that I know it. I'm very confident in it. And yay, I got it right. And so now that I've gotten it correct, push OK to go to the next answer, you can see that my items went down one. So again, with my students, I usually give them about 15 to 25 questions, and these assignments only take them about 10 to 20 minutes to complete typically. Here's a different format of the question where they actually have to type something in. I haven't read the question, so we'll just type something in. So if they get it wrong, your item count doesn't go down. If they select no idea, the item count does not go down. Because if they have no idea and they're just guessing, then they're not becoming proficient in that topic. So I could say, oh yeah, I know it, but obviously I got that wrong. I didn't even type any words in. So again, before class, I can review all of this data to see how my students are doing and to help organize the course in a way that maximizes their knowledge on the topics they're walking in weaker with. So I really love this program. If your book is a McGraw-Hill book, I really recommend to check it out. Again, this is actually much cheaper for my students than the hard copy book. Even after they sell back their hard copy for me, this is actually a cheaper option for my students. But we've done some studies in my department about how many students actually own a hard copy book. And even if the students own it, a lot of them will report back that they don't use it. So this is a way for them to really dive into the material and to maximize the use of something they're paying for in the first place. So real fast, I keep mentioning that, I review the data. This is what my course looks like. We just looked at chapter 1. So this is what my students would see. They have a Learnsmart assignment due for almost every class period. And I try to break them up into bite-sized, manageable chunks of material. And I do online homework as well, but I'm not going to talk about that today. So what I can do is I can look at the reports that my students, to see my students' data. So this isn't a real class, so I can't show you real student data with this. But what I can do is I have some pretend reports here. So I do the Learnsmart prior to class. And there's all this data I can get. I can see the overview of how my students are doing. So again, these are fake names for the program. But not only can I see how they're doing, and it's quick and easy, color coordinated. You would think that 100% isn't achievable on assignments, but when it comes to these reading assignments, again, students do take them seriously because they know if they don't take them seriously in class, they can very easily fall behind. But one of the most telling pieces of information here is going to be how much time is spent. McGraw-Hill, when I create an assignment, and I can show you that next, they tell me the average amount of time that should be spent on each assignment. And so if I can see that my class is spending a lot less time and their scores are low, there's usually a direct correlation with that. But if somebody's spending way too much time, that's somebody else I might want to talk to just to make sure nothing's going on. I mean, every student is going to have a different pace of learning. But, sometimes if they're taking too much time compared to the rest of the class, I do like to talk to them about that. So I can kind of review this as a general overview. I can look up each student individually under student details. I don't normally do that prior to class. But I do like to look at the percent module details. So what this is going to do is have a breakdown of each chapter. So this is Chapter 2 pulled up. there's always going to be two sections. One of them is the actual assignment, and then one of them is self-study. Self-study is when students open the Learnsmart book by themselves and kind of read on their own, whereas the assignment is the 2 to 3 point assignment I've required before class. So I go through, and anything here that's about less than 70%, or in this case, just the lowest topic in general, that's the topic I'm going to start on in class, and I usually spend the most amount of time on that in class. And again, you can see how much time they've spent on each task. So usually there's a pretty good correlation between the lower scored options and the amount of time. And you can kind of see that trend in this results. Maybe if they had spent more time on this, they would have done better. So again, we can spend a little more time doing that in class. And then y'all saw the metacognitive data. That's going to be down here. And again, this is just priceless to me. It breaks it down per student. And so you want your students to be correct and aware they're correct. So that means they're going to have a high confidence in answering the questions. And obviously they want to be correct, because when you take an exam, you're graded off how correct you are. Now what you don't want are more of the incorrect and unawares. This is usually where the students are getting the questions wrong, but they keep selecting that they're very confident in that. So usually if this is above 30 or 35%, so right here we have a student that's 41%, I would probably pull them to the side and say, hey, you know, what's going on? I think you're a little overly confident in the material. Maybe we need to go through these topics and kind of spend a little more time on them. So that's kind of a general overview of the reports. Again, I review the module details and the metacognitive skills about 30 minutes before class, so that way I can kind of look over my notes and decide which questions we want to focus on for that course period. I do like to review the most challenging learning objectives throughout the course. Ideally, if on day one when we did chapter 1, if these were really low for certain topics, hopefully after that class period and we got to review it, when they self-study, hopefully these learning objectives will get a little bit higher. They won't be as challenging for them. So that's kind of an overview of how I use the reports as well. Whoa, my hair is crazy. Again, the point of using the McGraw-Hill stuff is I believe that students in the sciences, they can look up definitions. It's going to be the application of the material, having a conversation about the chemistry, and actually diving into the problems, doing the math, working through the logic of how to solve problems. That's the real meat of the material. In a traditional classroom, the teacher would give all the definitions and you would go home and work on the meat of the material by yourself. But for me, I'm trying to reverse that. It's not fully flipped. I do still do some lecturing in my courses. But with them having that background knowledge, that I can then use my iPads in class to deliver problems that have been customized for that class based on how they did on the Learnsmart assignments, to try to strengthen their most commonly missed learning objectives, and to help them do better. I want to help them with the meat of the material. I want to help them learn how to think through the problems and things like that. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to contact me. My name is Rachel Glazner. You can look me up on social media through that, or also on social media, my name is @GlaznerKim. I think you might be able to see it on this website here. On Twitter and Facebook, my handle is @GlaznerKim, GLAZENERCHEM. I post anytime I do these APPetizer Wednesdays, I put them on my social media. Thank you. And I also try to put other educational technology information or chemistry information online as well if you're interested on either of those. But we do these every Wednesday at about 2:30. So follow me and I hope that you guys tune in next week. Bye, guys.